Basmin, if you want to do sound check.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending this meeting. It's a pleasure to see you all. Right, first things first, we do not have a planned fire alarm to go off. So if it does, please, if you can make your way through the exit nice and calmly, outside is where the exit is and where everybody's the gathering point. Two, to give you notice of recording. So we are doing a live stream, hopefully for those who can't attend, that they'll be able to watch. It's our first time, so hopefully things might not run as smoothly, but let's hope. And also that we do take pictures, and if you don't wish to be in the photographs or video, just please let us know so that we can make sure that you're not in them, okay? Also, we are due to have Simon Foster come in soon, and what I would ask, please, is that everybody speaks with respect, they are polite and courteous. Okay, questions are going to be limited to a certain time, so everybody can have a chance to ask a question if they wish. And we're going to try and avoid supplementary questions if we can, just to basically so that we can hold on to the time as best as possible. Okay?
Thank you for that. Minutes of the last meeting, a copy is available on the Small Heath Forum email. Otherwise, we'll take that as true if we don't have any objections against it. Okay, updates. Another 24-hour shop has been closed on Coventry Road. That was obviously nitrous oxide, working with the local West Midlands police. So that's one more shop closed. And there's obviously a possibility of another shop being closed as well, so we're looking into that. We will be giving you more updates from the police and obviously planning and Small Heath Park as we go throughout the evening. We'll be giving you updates. In a little while, obviously, there's a few people that are going to read namaz. So we'll just carry on with a few things, and then the main thing will be at 7 o'clock when Simon Foster comes in.
Yeah, there's just one thing to add, Chair, if you don't mind. Last meeting, there were people sitting in here that asked us, can we put a question to the full council in relation to why aren't councillors engaging with residents in these types of meetings? So we did put the question, but when we put it up, it was in time. But unfortunately, the quota for the number of questions for September's meeting had already been booked. So hopefully this question is now going through legal services first to be passed off. And if it does get passed off, we'll know 1 week before the 4th of November if we are going to be allowed that question. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That's at the council house, so we'll be able to ask them live.
The other update I think we said here as well is that Small Heath Forum has applied for litter picks from Birmingham City Council. So any litter picks that we do, we can do it on our own behalf. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you.
That's great.
Okay, so just a quick update on Small Heath Park. We had a complaint from a resident, quite a long complaint, in regards to a lot of men, and this I want to put to the police officers ideally, any community support officers, who are just going into the park and randomly urinating in the park while there are kids present and so on. And it seems to be becoming a very common theme, unfortunately. Again, the amount of rubbish and fly tipping, it seems to be a lot of builders' rubble and things, and it's becoming a hazard. This was another complaint that came through. And one of the other biggest things that we have noticed and been informed of is by the park is the rise of sex workers that are now on the Coventry Road. And I mean, this is happening late in the evenings, and it seems to become a very big problem at the moment. So in regards to the park, those are our major updates at the moment. Okay.
What about the lodge?
Nothing about the lodge at present. We are hoping to try and see if we can come to a resolution where we can get the lodge back up and running. It really is in the council's hands, but we're trying to work with some kind of collaboration, and hopefully once we have some updates, I'll let you know about that as well.
Has there been any emails from
not as far as I know, no.
And is there any litter picks planned?
At present, only because at the beginning of September the weather wasn't very good. It's improved dramatically. Hopefully, if the weather does improve, we will hopefully have a litter pick in the park, maybe possibly around the area of Coventry Road. But I will put that out on social media once those details are ready.
Thank you for that. Obviously, we've got planning issues, quite a few of them. And I'll wait for them to come back, and then obviously we'll give us an update on the plannings. What we can obviously let you know is few 407 Coventry Road, we objected against it. The council were in our favour, and they said no, they can't have the planning. So what they've been told is to take that down the front structure. So that's going to be taken down. Well, I think it's already taken down now.
Yeah.
That's been taken down there. Also, that's been filmed in the Blaketon Street one.
Which one, sorry? Yeah, so also on 22 Blaketon Street, there was a change of use on upper floor of the meat processing unit to provide 8 additional rooms to existing HMO. And this also was refused when we objected, because obviously of all what it's going to create in terms of rubbish and parking, etc. So that's a good result.
Also, there was a planning application 46 to 46A Wordsworth Road. They wanted to erect 3 garages. That's the big building on the left-hand side of Wordsworth Road. That's now been withdrawn after we've objected against it, so we're possibly looking at re-putting that in again.
And 772 Coventry Road, it was a change of use from a 7-bed sit to 5 flats with rear ground and first floor extension, and again that also was refused.
That's obviously through the forum we put in. So when you write to us and let us know that you object, so we do put them forward. And the final one was 407 Coventry Road.
Which you've already done.
Yeah,
that was the canopy. Yeah.
543 Coventry Road, you've got that one.
We've done those
No,
as
that
well.
one there, that's it.
Yeah, no, you've done that already.
I've done.
Yeah. So, in terms of planning, what we also are currently that's going through is, as for the snooker club, but once the 9 comes back from playing, then he's going to go through the current planning applications that are taking place, and what the changes are that they're looking for, and ideally to have your input in regards to these planning applications.
Yeah, so what we've got is one which is one strip to use as a snooker court. Now they haven't given us any timing, what times they're going to open and close, and where their entrance is going to be. There's also a extension to 506, 508 Coventry Road with a 3rd story. 612 Coventry Road, that's obviously a builder's merchant, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
They want to build up to the maximum point, so they won't have any place for putting rubbish or anything like that. So they will give us an update on that, what they want to do. And 302, 304 Coventry Road, that's an extension as well, isn't it?
That is, yeah, absolutely.
Then we've given a bit of into the extension, so if you
When planning.
We've gone through refusals. If we could do the planning current ones.
Okay. So I don't know if anybody can see that. Right. When it comes to planning, a lot of you guys have brought it to our attention, and we've put it on the email list that we have. So what we've had here, these are the refusals that we've had so far. So we've had, for example, Coventry Road 772, just on the left-hand side, change of use from 7-bed to 5 number flats. That was refused. This is the council's actual refusal. And then we've got 46A Wordsworth Road. I don't know if you guys remember that. That's been withdrawn. 543 Coventry Road. That's on next to ever so special near Wordsworth Road. That's been refused. Installation of the decking. 22 Blakeland Street. Change of use to HMOs. That's been refused. 407 Coventry Road, which was the old, next to the old TSB bank, guys, you guys remember Lloyd's TSB. That's been refused as well. So these are the refusals that are on the council's website. Anybody wishing to find out further and look at the documentation can go onto the council's planning website and actually download the documents from there as well, should you wish. So you've got the refusals. Now we've got a number of other planning applications that have come through. So what we do in terms of planning applications here is we sort of give you a brief outline, and then it's up to you guys to vote. Now, if you're not sure, there's 3 options. There's you're for the planning, you're against it, or you can abstain. For, against, or abstain. If you're unsure, what you can do, abstain at this moment in time, and look more into it, because we don't have the time today, to be honest with you, because to go through each planning application. We can do a vote now. What we also do, we'll also take into account the emails that we've got in relation to these applications. And like I said, all of these will be or should have been emailed out to you guys as and when they come to us. So the first one I'm quickly going to go through, which was mentioned in the last meeting, 155 Munn Street. So 155 Munn Street was the planning application for change of use from a garage to a snooker club. Are you guys all aware of that? Right? Not many of you are aware of that. Okay. Do you want to vote now, or would you want to put your comments in later?
Well, the reason for our objection is there's an entrance on the Hugh Road side, which means that if it does go ahead, one, the traffic obviously in terms of people attending is going to create even more issues for the residents there. We have no idea about the timings of when this will open and close, so it could be late nights, and obviously it's a very heavily built residential area, people going to school and work, noise features, we have no details whatsoever at all. So for us, and I actually live literally 2 minutes from there, so it's not going to be an ideal solution, and really we're just worried about the kind of antisocial behaviour it might bring. So those are our objections in regards to the planning.
So what we'll do a vote now anyway, and then if you want to email us in or email the council, the applications and number are there, and we can actually then send it over to you if you haven't got it. As long as you've signed in with your email address, you can always email us and we'll give you the application numbers, or go on the website alternatively. Those who are for the planning on this, you want to raise your hands? Who wanted to turn into a snooker club? You want to count?
0.
0. Those who are against turning it into a snooker club?
I think it's the majority.
Count it, please.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
How much is that? Sorry?
12.
12. Okay, I need to make a note of it. 12. And those who want to abstain? Oh, sorry, you want to raise your hand a bit higher? 3. Yes, fine. 3. Yeah. 14. Sorry, 2, 0, and what was it? 4 was.
And I've had 2 people that voted to me personally.
So 0, 4 against was 14 abstain. 3. Right. The next application, guys, is for it's on 506 508 Commentary Road. Although they say it's niches, it's not niches, depending how you how you clarify that. It's a rear 2-story extension to enclose fire escape. So those of you who don't know where this is, do you know where the Munstry and Golden Hillock lights are? So literally, if you're on Golden Hillock lights on Commentary Road, it's directly opposite. Right, so it's the last. It's more or less the first shop, and there's a little alleyway between the 2 shops. They want to turn that into a it says a rear store extension. But what we've got outside, what we found out is they've got 508 Commentary Road. This is what's been actually put out. Right, so that's what's been put out. So although it doesn't look like a shisha lounge, and they haven't asked for a shisha lounge, that's what it looks like. So we're not sure if that's connected to the building or not, but very likely it is that building, and it's more than likely that that's what they want to turn it into. So that's already been advertised. Right, I'm not going to go too much into the plans. Again, you can look at it. Those who are for this application, planning application, raise your hands. Those who want it. Those who are against, ask head count, please. And me as well. 14, yeah?
15, 16.
So 0 for 14 against. Any abstentions, please? 2.
Yeah.
2 abstentions, that's fine. Right, next planning application is going to be for, I'm going to go through this one. Planning applications. Right, so 612 Coventry Road. Those of you who don't know where it is, you know the Builders Merchants on the corner of St. Oswald's Road and Coventry Road. They want to turn that into raise a roof, and there's quite a lot involved in that one as well, with an addition of a dormer to the side, rear extension, and they want to make it into a number of additional flats, from our understanding on that one.
With that one, I just want to add a bit of things. They've already got issues about parking, loading stuff, so what they want to do is create more living space upstairs. They haven't got provision for bins. They'd want to build the ground floor extension right up to the boundary, so literally they wouldn't have any space for any of the drop-offs or any other stuff. The local people on that street have objected against it.
Okay, so basically, if you look at it from the front part, it's 2 shops. As you expand that, so it's 2 shops from Coventry Road. So if you look at it from the Coventry Road side, it's actually 2 shops. Oh. Right. So it's the corner builder's shop, which is that one there, that's the builder's yard there, and then it's got a takeaway next to it. I think is it Rio's?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's so that's the ground floor, but it's not the ground floor that's affected. It's going to be the first floor and second floors above it. Right. I'm not going to go into it too much. Those for the planning application, the one going through, raise your hands, please.
In favour?
Those against, raise your hands, please. They don't want it going through. Head count, please. $14, 15, 0, 15, and any abstentions, please?
2.
2. Okay. 0, 15, 2. Okay. Right. 302, 304. Do you know where Commentary Road meets Little Green Lane? That Y sort of junction. Those are the two shops. I think it's a hairstylist or something. Currently at the moment. So what they want to do is they want to alter the roof, make it higher for the creation of an additional flat. Right. So again, I don't want to go too much into it. Those four. Those head count. Those four. Nope. Those against.
Okay, 14.
Yeah, me as well. Okay. Any abstentions, please? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 abstentions. Brilliant. Right. Last but not least, Whitmore Road. The way you've got Whitmore Road, you've got an application there to change of use from second floors, which is a residential, to a 4-bed HMO. This is towards the Commentary Road side. A number of people have contacted us regarding this application because their word is, number one, it's a one-way, and number two, there's no provision for any parking spaces. So where you've got it there, that's Whitmore Road there, the one-way. That's Commentary Road going that way, right? So it's the one on the left-hand side there. In terms of the plans, I mean, I'm not the best person, but I've seen bathrooms. I don't know how they can have a bathroom that's 3 meters square. That's 3 square meters, a total bathroom. For me, again, I'm not going to go too much into it. If you don't know the information and you want to get more, you can get it online or contact us. So it's to turn what is essentially a residential place into a 4-bed HMO. Those for the application, please raise your hands. Those against the application, please raise your hands. Okay. Any abstentions, please? 3 abstentions. Yep. Right. So that's the planning completed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, mate.
Please update, sir.
Okay, police updates. Where do you want to start?
Shall we just start from Leon, if that's okay? Do you want to?
Yeah.
Jump up.
Do you want to go to the front?
Oh, of course. Right, guys, just to let you guys know, it's Leon's day off today.
Yeah, it's my day off.
Right.
That's why I look so
And
inconspicuous.
The dedication is such that he's actually arranged childcare for his children on his day off to come here to let us know what's going on in Bolton Green.
Cancelling every single time I say I'm going to come.
Right, so
So I thought
we do appreciate it.
that I actually turned up today. I suppose I'll try and keep it to the areas that are actually Small Heath rather than my entire patch. So for people that don't know, if they've not seen me before, I'm the supervisor for Bolton Green neighbourhood. So I cover quite a large patch, but I also share Small Heath, obviously, with the Small Heath neighbourhood team, with the South Yardley neighbourhood team. So obviously we've closed down 7 Star, which is just before you get to Munch Street. So they're closed now for 3 months. We will be looking for an extension when that starts coming up. So hopefully we will be granted that extension. We've set the Commentary Road, or at least our section of it. So for people that don't know, I cover the Commentary Road from Haybarns up to Munch Street, but I only cover that side of the road. So where you've got 7 Star, where you've got Hyatt's, St Oswald's Road, I only cover that side of the Commentary Road. So we've set that as one of our priority areas because we know that there's a lot of issues around not just parking, but obviously we've got street workers, we've got the sale of drugs, whether that's cannabis, cocaine, nitrous oxide, and then we've got the antisocial behaviour that kind of all stems in that area. So we've set it as our priority area for the next 4 months. So part of that work for us is we're going to be doing a lot more around the street workers. Obviously, ad hocly, we don't get a lot of reports about them anymore. So when I'm working with Turnaround Birmingham, which is Liz, she's an outreach worker that will come down and she will speak to each of the girls and try and get them on their prescription, try and get them up to the local pharmacy, try and help them out with housing, and generally just try and give them some extra support. So I'll try and speak with her because from our perspective, we're engaging with less girls, so we think there's less of them in the area. Obviously, if the community is saying it's happening a lot more, we need to see where that discrepancy is. So I'll sit down with her. As a part of that as well, we've got another agency that we've been able to get them to get some extra funding to be able to come out into the area. So that is the RSDVA, and they're going to have an outreach van, so they'll be able to come down and actually, again, engage with these girls, but also be able to take them over to their centre so they can get fresh clothing, get washed up, and also get some extra support as well. As part of that, they're going to be giving out some help kits as well, so they'll get access to a mobile phone so they can actually call us for help, because part of the trend that we see as well for a lot of street workers is they're getting increasingly attacked more, or they're getting raped by people. So it's about getting them some extra support, keeping them safe, and hopefully supporting them outside, getting out of the lifestyle that they're currently in. We've got lots of different operations planned that I can't go into obviously great detail to because we don't want to give out all of our tactics or what's happening. So today is kind of a light touch, but obviously if I was to come to November's meeting, I would hope I've got a lot more success stories to actually fill you in on what we've done. Particularly for September, for us, it's just been a lot of planning, getting the foundations right, and getting a lot of our partner agencies to commit to getting their staff to be involved in some of our policing operations. So we've got a variety of different things that are happening over this month, so hopefully you'll see a little bit more from us. I think I've always been honest with people as well, because I know people have said that they don't see a lot of the police at the moment, particularly in Small Heath, that visibility is a lot worse than it was before. Part of that for us is obviously just changes that we've got organisationally, just because over the summer months we've got increased threat, harm and risk to people that are calling 999. So it means that that's where we need to put our staffing to. So a lot of our neighbourhood teams have been helping out our response teams. So those people that are calling us like in their most hour of need, they've got an actual police officer to be able to attend those incidents. But that's all being stepped down. So as we go through October, there's a lot more that we can do now because our staffing is now protected more into doing our neighbourhood duties. So that visibility should increase as well. So you should see a little bit more of a police presence. I would say we're on the 3rd, so from tomorrow, ideally.
Yeah,
back tomorrow. So yeah, definitely tomorrow.
Can you update us on the drop curbs and also, before I forget, the bollards?
Yes. So Small Heath Park, there was an issue with cars that are parking in front of the gates. So between the gates and the bollards. I've spoken with the council. We've got together and I've asked them, because I know some areas where they've got a good 50 bollards for no reason, to just move some of those bollards so that they can put them in front of the gates, so that way cars can't park there. They've put that now through what they call highways to see if that's feasible, so they're aware of it and they're taking that forward, so hopefully that issue will cease to exist sometime soon. Drop curbs, it's been a long plague, I would say, of I get people contact me, I'll pass them to the council, people go to the council and they get passed back to the police, so it's a bit of a batting exercise. Part of that for me is we've got no actual solution to drop curbs. There is no joint up plan of what we do about it. I don't get any complaints from the council asking for our support on it either. However, last week I got called by licensing street traders who've also now been drafted into a new team within the council to be actually targeting these illegal drop curbs. So they've got a lot of the details now of the suspects that are installing them, they've got details of the residents that are having them installed as well, and they've now asked for a meeting with the police to be able to now draft up what is our joint agreement of how we tackle illegal drop curbs. So I just need to give them a call back when I'm next on duty, and then hopefully that will be moving forward this month as well to actually start prosecuting those and installing these illegal drop curbs. Yeah, so this is another one as well. So another one of our priorities, because particularly around our parts of Small Heath that we cover and a few bits to the north, we've got a lot of issues around those that will buy cars for auction. So they're parking them on the roads, taking a lot of the parking spots. We've got a lot of people that tax their vehicles, they've got no MOT, no insurance, or they're just not roadworthy and unsafe, or they're causing obstruction. So that's another one of our priorities, is tackling that. So we've now got hopefully every pretty much fortnightly we'll have an operation to just clear streets of Bordesley Green that we cover. So last week we started, it was with Yardley Green Road and Grange Road. So they picked up 9 cars from those, and then we will target another 2 streets when we do our next operation. So our plan is to hit every single road across Bordesley Green that we cover. That should only take us the next couple of months if we're doing it fortnightly, and then that way we've cleared everything, and then we can just keep rinsing, repeating, and keeping on top of it.
Then with the report card, if you do an MOT check, tax check.
So we can't take a car just for no MOT or no insurance unless we're seeing it drive. If it's no tax, I still am a firm believer that it is for the DVLA. The DVLA should be targeting untaxed vehicles. It shouldn't be us. We do it on behalf.
These type of the cars which have been written off, or
yeah.
Just,
So ideally to the DVLA, but what I always say as well, because I'm aware that not everybody works as quickly, so report it to the DVLA, and like a lot of other people do, just email the Bordesley Green neighbourhood team, and if we still our remit, we've got the time to do it, we'll go out and grab it.
Just quick question in regards to the sex workers. Just playing devil's advocate here, but you mentioned you're offering support. So, isn't that just encouraging the big?
No, so what I would say to you is the inverse of it. So if I now go and prosecute these street workers, so I would say I've yet to encounter one that is wealthy, is well off, or doing it just because they enjoy it. Almost all of them are doing it to fund a drug habit because they've got no other money, they're living on benefits. So I go and prosecute them, they get sent to court, they're not going to be sent to prison, can almost guarantee you that. They're going to be given a fine which they can't pay, so they come out of court, they go straight back to the streets to be able to get that money to then pay that fine, also fund their habit. So what that causes then is just a never-ending cycle and never actually addressing the problem. So if we can take an education standpoint and supporting them, that way we can actually reduce a lot of the girls. So we've actually had some success stories of a handful of them that we know that are no longer street workers. They've now got housing, they've now got employment, and they don't live in the area anymore.
What about targeting the actual customers?
Yeah, so again, so with the customers, again, that just takes what resources we've got and planning it, of being able to have officers in the area that actually see.
I know you're very young. Small Heath, that gentleman's got over here, so I assume that you probably yourself. Small Heath has got famous Road, Cheddar Road. The police used to target them, and they used to then shame the customers. So isn't it worth trying that tactic, or is there something that?
It's worth trying if I can get the time and the resources.
I think what it is in that.
What I have to do is be realistic.
It was a men really, it was a community that there was unity in the community that really led the project, and then the police worked alongside it. Unfortunately, our men today are probably using the services.
And I'm not going to overpromise and then underdeliver. This is something that I can achieve with the resources and the time that I know I have without having to fight for extra.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leon.
Thank you so much.
I think we'll
If any other questions, my email is literally always open.
We've got another police officer. We've got 2 other police officers.
So if you email me, I will get back to you, or just give me a phone call.
So just let you know, guys, there's 3 neighbourhood teams that we cover. So we cover Bordesley Green, Small Heath and Highgate, and also South Yardley. So that was the Bordesley Green side of it, which is Coventry Road, this end. So where we are now, currently, this is Bordesley Green. We'll go on to, so we go on to Inspector? Inspector, this is
Yardley first, so I can
okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Hey!
Oh yes, I know. Probably best for you. Thank you. Your own welfare. Yeah.
Can we get the South Yardley? Aidan, you alright?
Yeah, I'm good.
Would you like to come to
Officers?
the front?
Yeah.
Obviously, Simon Foster's here. He's been poorly. He was going to cancel it, and then he rang me and he said, "No, I'm dedicated."
No, he did cancel it, but then he uncancelled it.
And then he
And then he
uncancelled it at the last minute.
Right, thank you.
Obviously,
Sorry.
Evening. So you might not have met me before. My name's Simon Garner. I'm the neighbourhood sergeant for Stechford and North Yardley, so I'm representing tonight. So representing Graham Rule, who's the new sergeant for South Yardley. I've asked him if there's anything he particularly wants to update you with. The only thing he sent my way is, well, firstly to reinforce Leon's message that obviously sends his apologies if there's any perception of reduced neighbourhood policing over the summer period. Again, it's that summer demand, so we've been helping out our response colleagues and hopefully that bit of seasonality is coming to an end now. There's an uplift in the response staffing, and hopefully that's going to ring fence us to some degree to do some more neighbourhood policing going into the autumn. The only thing he's really sent my way is just sort of acknowledgement of some intel that's come in relation to online social media group called The Truth United, which seems to be, on the face of it, sort of the early stages, a bit of a far-right group, which seems to be getting a little bit of traction online. There's kind of a calling for people to create groups in their area of 15 or more men and then create subgroups online and coordinate themselves for demonstrations and things like that. We've had some screenshots of social media profiles sent in to us. We've had a video of what appears to be a gathering in a park somewhere. It's very brief and doesn't really explain where or when that was taken. So it's just to reassure you that we've received the intel, we are looking into it. We're making contact with the source of the video clip in particular, just to try and identify when that happened, where it happened, and any kind of ideological details for the group that was filmed. Obviously, the intel has been developed by our intel department and has been shared with our counter-terrorism gateway, and we're also sharing it with relevant community groups just to make sure that we're offering them reassurance and sort of appealing to them for any observations from their point of view or any intel they can offer. If anyone does see or hear anything of that nature which concerns them, then the ask is to submit it via gov.uk/ACT, which stands for Action Counters Terrorism. So ACT is something you can Google and submit an intel via there. Other than that, it's not giving me anything specific to talk about. I've got myself and my designated neighbourhood officer for Stechford who can take kind of any questions one-to-one later on if people have got specific questions.
What it was, the Small Heath Forum were involved in this as well, so we are the ones that are working with the police on this. Just because something's not happening in the front doesn't mean nothing's happening in the background. Because what we want to do, we want to reduce community tensions because there's been a lot of other stuff going on as well. Those of you on the email, you'll probably be updated at some point soon anyway. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Can I answer the question?
Yeah.
You know, you were saying that you liaison with some other community groups.
Yes.
Which groups are they?
He hasn't given me that information.
Say that again?
He hasn't given me that information, but apparently it is being shared with relevant community groups.
Because
I don't know who works with, it's not my area.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to know which community groups you work with because there's so many groups, but you just don't hear of them.
Yeah, I get your point. I can't give you an answer to that, but apparently it is being shared.
Can you share that information sometime with the forum or somewhere?
We'll ask for it.
Yeah, I'd say Graham will be in communication before.
We've got to be careful about data protection as well. We've got to be careful on data protection as well when it comes to community groups because you're asking the police to divulge information sometimes that they're not.
No, what it is, I'm going back down to the 80s now. I don't know whether you're younger than me or older. And I'm seeing this thing going back to the National Front.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from.
And now you're saying you're dealing with these communities. Are they just quiet? Or are we going to get back to where I grew up, where we had the gangs, the Panthers, the Lynx, the Redheads? Are we going to start defending ourselves in that way?
Hopefully
we've got the police commissioner here as well here, so you can bear to listen. I mean, I was abused just by having a Palestinian flag today. I mean, I was shocked. And I thought, is this going back to the 80s now? So I remember the 80s very clearly. And it's taken me another 40 years to come back. It's a reverse cycle.
I think what we'll do is we'll come to questions later. We'll find out what other groups have been found out and we'll come back on that.
Well, all I would say is this is very much in its early stages. It's been sent to us very recently, and as you can appreciate, if there's no immediate call for service, then this is very much on the sort of slow time and making sure we can develop the intel, and it all comes from the quality of information that we've got. There's a lot going on in the background. Obviously, I can't go into the detail of it being fairly live, but it's just to offer the reassurance that it's being acknowledged and is being looked into, and the response will only be as good as the information we've got. So it's very much an appeal to the community that anything that you've got, no matter how small, share it with us, because it could be the small piece of the puzzle that cracks the whole thing open.
No, what happened when we were growing up, and I'm sort of sad to remember, we did rely on the police, and it came to a stage where we said enough's enough. and we took it upon ourselves to deal with it.
But
We don't want to get into that
hopefully
situation.
Obviously, the work we do
that was a
is
different
hopefully
kind
aimed
of,
at preventing it getting to that point. It's obviously no one wants to get to that, and obviously the sooner we can get into the information, provide a meaningful response, the less likely anything like that would happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Over to
Yeah, thank you, folks. Good evening. I think I've met most of you before, but there's some people that I haven't seen previously. So my name's Ellis. I do a slightly different role to the sergeant. So I'm the local policing inspector for Small Heath, but I also cover a number of other areas across Birmingham. So I cover 8 locations in total, including Aston, Beechells, Ladywood, loads of different places. So if we start talking about road names, forgive me because it's impossible to remember everywhere. One thing I'm going to talk about on this is Operation Skybridge, because this is the centrepiece of what's been happening in terms of the last meeting we had here, probably a couple of months ago. And on the back of listening to the conversations that I had with members of the community from here, and not just Small Heath, but other areas as well, it was clear that the obvious bid needed to be Small Heath. So we created a poster on the back of about a month's work of proactive policing. And this is just, and this is really important, this is just local policing operations that we've done over the course of a month in Small Heath. Now, we're not going to get this every month because Operation Skybridge as a proactive team have to work in other parts of the West Midlands as well. But the bids and your feedback have driven into the intelligence, which has then subsequently allowed us to have Operation Skybridge across the month of August. Well, this was August going into September. The results are out now, so we can produce this for this October meeting. So all in all, I've got some real quick fire figures here in terms of what the police have done, but I'll go into detail off this. So over the course of a month, lots of stuff happening from a team of around 5 to 10 officers that have been engaged with my local neighbourhood policing teams. So we've had 20 arrests for various offences. 63 offences in total were identified as a result of proactive policing on the streets of Small Heath. We're talking any time from 7 o'clock in the morning right up until about 11 o'clock at night on different days of the week and weekends as well. We've had 25 charges as a result of that. I anticipate that there will be another 4 because obviously even though the operation has ended, it still takes a while to get people through the justice system. We have to wait for the CPS for certain things as well. So there's still more charges actually dropping as we speak. We had 41 stop and searches along the streets of Small Heath, so that's Coventry Road, it's Cherrywood Road, it's other areas as well, and this is specifically Small Heath. So a small area, but obviously and clearly lots going on based upon what you guys have fed back. We recovered 7 knives. We had, and 14 failed to stops is effectively when we try and pull a vehicle over, it drives off, it creates an offence of failing to stop. So we were also proactive on the roads as well as on the streets, walking about, etc., speaking to people. We had 28 vehicles seized as a result of that, a variety of offences, driving without insurance, dangerous driving, driving under the influence of drink or drugs, lots of different stuff. I'll talk about some of the offences that we identified because some are what you would consider minor, but actually for the local community they're really impactful crimes. And then we also had some severe offences as well. So to give you a flavour, possession with intent to supply class A drugs, so cocaine and heroin, driving without insurance, we had robberies, we had dangerous drive, we had a rape, we had a slavery offence as well, we had section 4, which are basically public order offences, where people are sort of abusive, etc., to members of the public as well. And that is a snapshot of the work that has gone on as a result of your returns. Now that is 20 arrests in 18 shifts over the month. So it just tells you the volume of what we can get involved in, but we heavily rely on your involvement in things like this because if you don't tell us about these things, we don't have the intelligence and the sway to get into these teams to do this stuff. So these kind of evenings really do matter, and that's what you get as a result of it. So some really, really good work gone on in Small Heath over the last month and a half. And I've obviously sent my feedback back to the Skybridge team on the residents' behalf as well, because I get fed basically an end of duty sheet, which tells me what's happened over the course of that day. And some of the stuff we haven't recorded on here for obvious reasons. Some of it's live investigations, we can't talk about certain things, but it's just real proactive work. And this is just a demonstration of what happens when we engage. So you guys have got yourselves to credit for that, as well as the officers that have been doing the work. In terms of other local neighbourhood policing stuff, so two key factors that we've picked up over the last couple of weeks. Retail crime is something that we're trying to target real hard. In particular, Morrison's, Asda's, local shops on Coventry Road and other areas. The reason for that is because quite clearly there is a link between common shoplifting, people doing things to fund drug habits, and then coming back onto your streets, selling drugs, breaking into vehicles, robbing houses, using sex workers. The circle goes on and on and on and on. So we have to try and target the root cause of this. And the key things that people try and do to fund these habits are shoplifting, drug dealing, sex work, right? And it's a common theme that continuously comes up every single time across all of my wards. Bearing in mind, I look after Small Heath, Aston, several places, right? So it's a common theme. The Small Heath team are proactively engaged with some of the key retailers on Small Heath, your Asda's, etc. There's a lot of work going on. It's not easy because of the volume of shoplifters that we have. You know, you just can't be in there 24/7. We don't have the people to be in there 24/7. But where we are arresting the most prolific of offenders. The challenge we face is that when we are putting people in front of the courts for those offences, it's very difficult to secure long-term prison offences for these people. You know, some of them, they're stealing meat worth £20, right? When you're putting someone in front of a court for £20 versus someone else who's in front of a court, guarantee you it's unlikely to be those individuals that get long prison sentences, right? So there's a lot of proactive but rehabilitative work going on as well. So it's really important that policing isn't just about locking people up and putting them in front of courts. That's a part of the process, but we've also got to work with our partners to rehabilitate these individuals, because ultimately that's what we're relying on to curb some of this information. So, or some of this criminal behaviour rather. So those are the key updates, obviously relevant for those who were here at the last meeting, because we talked about this stuff and we actually did it. And for those that are new, all I would encourage you to do is keep coming to these things because they're important. And it's that information and intelligence that feeds stuff like this. So that's it for Small Heath as an area. Cherry, would you want to update on that in terms of what you fed back into me, and then I can talk about the
Let's get this video, if you don't mind. So this is a cleanup operation.
Yes. Is this your Camelot Way footage?
This is Sherwood Road. Right, so I can get MOT and the tax on that one. I don't know why they're taking that one away.
So again, folks, what this is effectively, you know, this is a problematic road, right? Where parking, people, there's no real consideration for members of the public. You can quite clearly see the level of rubbish, dangerous stuff on the streets. You know, you've got kids walking through these areas. You've got elderly people walking through these areas. It's just unacceptable, right? It is completely unacceptable. But what it highlights in the video is, one, the scale of problems that we've got, and two, you need more than just the police to deal with these issues. You know, the police have not got big trucks and garbage trucks to be driving around to deal with this stuff. So a lot of this stuff is driven by partners, which is a good demonstration of this stuff again.
And then you're going big from the businesses, you're not garages there.
Say again, sorry.
And you're going big from the businesses.
Some, not all, some.
So what
we don't go to come that way. Only last time.
Well, you've got, so you've got
the amount of education.
I mean, what I could say,
one brain cell, they need to do it.
there has been several operations. People came here and told us about the issues on Camelot Way, Parliament Street and Sherwood Road. Ourselves, we've been involved with them. The police have been involved. Council, it takes time. It just doesn't happen overnight.
I appreciate that. What you have to remember now, we're in a slightly different position now. And I'm hoping the police commissioner can act on this. We now have a home secretary.
You walk past here.
Just come down the road. She's not bothered about this.
We'll come back to that.
Appointed, ladies and gentlemen.
We'll come back to
don't
that.
deserve to be home secretary.
So
We'll come back to that. This is obviously
Camelot
Camelot Way now.
Yeah. So, Sajid, if I just answer that gentleman's points there. So, you make good points about what the police doing in terms of the links to these. So, there's two things to mention. First and foremost, you've got to put those vehicles to those individuals in order to prosecute them for obstructing the highway, for illegal parking, whatever it may be. To get into the businesses, it's joint work, so it's between the council and the police. So there's things that you deliver to those organisations, such as community protection notices, community protection warnings, of which we had 5 delivered out to the businesses on Cherrywood Road.
Right.
They're effectively pieces of legislation that dictate what businesses can and can't do in certain areas. If they breach them, then you have people like trading standards. You may or may not have the police involved in that, because once it goes into the business side of things, a lot of the criminality is then passed over for the council to manage onwards, because you've got the immediate criminality, but then you've got the standards of operating as well. So the police aren't responsible for policing.
No, I understand that.
Do you know what I mean?
I think for me now, the big difference between now and over a month ago is what I made earlier on is we have a Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, and she needs to be supporting you. Whether it's the gentleman there, the police commissioner, whether he's, I'm not sure if you'll be the Labour Party or Conservative, but you yourself and your colleagues, she has to come down. She's the Home Secretary.
So let me educate you on this point, because I actually work very closely with Shabana's office in some of this stuff. So you're entitled to your opinion. I'm not going to talk politics because I'm a police officer, right? What I will say is that Shabana's office feed a lot of the community concerns back into the local policing team. That communication serves as a real good baseline for us to understand what it is that's impacting the community, because what we have to remember as well is some people aren't confident or don't want to speak to the police, and some people don't want to give us intelligence for various reasons. So another avenue of doing that is speaking to your MP, right? So her office does very often, and I can account to the emails, right, feedback a lot of the issues that her residents bring, and it's because of that we can then operate on things like this. So she does actually have an important part to play. I get it from the outside perspective because you're not involved in the level of communication, I understand that, but I can account for a very close relationship with her office in terms of the work that I do in my area. That being said, I can't talk about other wards because she does cover more than just my wards, and I don't know if that's where you live or not.
Yeah.
I can only talk about my particular area. But you know, she's very proactive in getting her team to feedback that information from the public.
Just to support what that gentleman said, I myself has logged about 15 issues with Shabana's office directly in the last 6 months, and she doesn't even have the details.
Can I just please, we don't want to make this political, please.
Yeah, no, we're not
Really, I understand that, but we're on a really tight schedule, so...
What I'm trying to make is the Home Secretary is from Birmingham.
I get that, we understand that. Listen, she's
No.
across the road from me, I get that. The point of the matter is, this is not a political debate
No,
about what
I'm not
Shabana
making a
Mahmood
political
should
I'm
be
not saying
doing.
that.
No, look,
What we can do is, as a forum, we can put that forward to Shabana as well.
It should be
And
highlighted.
obviously say,
Should be
these are our
highlighted.
concerns.
Try and invite
And if you
her.
could,
I know she won't come.
it doesn't matter, we can try as a forum, we can put your concerns across. The
Because
thing
the
is
police
that,
can't do everything.
No,
The police-
absolutely.
She is the
But what
officer, she is the minister responsible for policing. That's what the Home Secretary does.
absolutely.
They can't do anything. These
But you see, we
gentlemen
also
can't do
need
anything,
input.
And that gentleman can't do anything.
We need
because she
input
stops
from
him.
people like you then to contact your MPs, contact
Well,
your
I'll vote for her
councillors.
how many times, maybe next time.
Okay,
it's-
right, well, if we can just
Well, we
leave
won't
it at
go
that,
to-
please,
obviously-
at this point.
if we could just go to that now.
Because we're really running low on
No,
time.
no, I understand, but we need some.
Can we?
This is a joke.
But I expected to a certain degree that would happen because there needs to be a concerted plan of action to stop it happening. Birmingham City Council said more cars will be cleared in the next few days. They've served more than 300.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Jerry, for that. That was Jerry's.
What did you say?
Jerry, would you like to
Jerry, do you
tell us
want
what
to
you said?
repeat that?
You should have been watching the news. Right, so move on.
I basically said, there is nothing to repeat. Basically, as Inspector Ellison has referred to, what we need is coordinated action and planning for these issues. That goes back to 2012. There have been police actions about 3 or 4 years ago, but it's a recurrent problem. It's Like fly tipping, you can clean it, it will come back. It needs to have a plan of action. And the only problem in relation to the plan of action is the police have finite resources and they have greater priorities. A dumped car that isn't causing much of a problem is not a greater priority in relation to somebody being attacked on the street and the tensions building up in the community. The city council is bankrupt, so that which they undertook would have cost them £5,000, £6,000, £7,000. It wasn't cheap. You know, it has a resolution at the moment, but like with Camelot Way, so that action was undertaken by Small Heath Forum. That's why I was interviewed. So when people think, what are we doing as a forum? We did that. The original Camelot Way, the cleaning of that was Small Heath Forum.
It's not that, like you said, it's a visual cycle going around.
But we are working. Now we'll be out there reporting it. We're doing things and we're getting things done. Our problem as a forum is, it's a communication. It's the same with the police. The police are undertaking actions they can't necessarily inform us about, but then we don't see them, and because we don't see them and there's no follow-up, we think they're doing nothing. But anyway, that's basically what it is.
Anything else?
It depends how you want to run it. So they can either ask me questions about their area, or we can move on. Yeah, up to you guys.
Question at the back.
Did you say you're an inspector, or did I hear you say?
Say again, sorry.
Are you an inspector, or did I just hear that?
Yes, correct.
So for the inspector, I think the last time Simon came, it's all good you charging people, which is what we'd expect. What's the conviction rate? Because the last time Simon came, about 3 years ago, it was 7%. So out of 100 crimes, 7 people actually getting locked up for it. Any idea what it is now?
Well, it depends what you define as conviction. So effectively, there's different outcomes. So you've got criminal convictions. So you've got the courts, for example. So you put someone in front of the court, they get sentenced, right? Conviction. But you've also got out of court disposals. So cautions, community resolutions, other methods that we can put on people. It depends. You'd have to narrow down the question, and I'd have to go away and get the figures for you because it's such a broad question. I don't know what the conviction rate is for every person we put in front of the courts. What we'd have to do is just narrow down and find that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just on that point, the positive outcome rate in the West Midlands at the moment is 14%. And last month it was over 15%. So it has significantly improved over the last couple of years. A couple of years ago or so, it was hovering around 5-6%. It's now up to 14-15%. So you can see it's significantly improved. Obviously there is some disparity across different crime types, but that is the overall figure throughout the West Midlands.
Thank you for that.
Now, just if you want to talk about, was your question about the whole of the West Midlands or Small Heath?
No, just about Small Heath and Boards of Green.
So if you
it's about
ask me,
13.8% at the moment for Small Heath.
Yeah, if we're talking about specific offences as well, come and speak to me after, and we'll get those and we can communicate. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
No problem. Yeah. Cool.
Thank you for that. Oh, sorry. Go on. Last
I
question.
just want to know if you're aware of the things going on in Calvert Way, like the caravans left there with the van that's been lopsided, and they've come and put cones around it. The cones you put up, you could have just lifted it and dashed it. Like, do you know as soon as you get off the highway?
That's Yardley's.
South Yardley, and obviously that will
That's
probably.
what's it's literally across the forum.
Yeah.
It's just the boundaries.
Coventry Road here is a boundary. Yeah. So this side is Bosley Green, cross over to Holy Family. That's right. If we're driving into town, it's going to be South Yardley. If you're driving away from town, from here, it's Bosley Green. It's Bosley Green, and that's a question that's going to be asked to Mr. Foster a bit later on as well. Just hold fire. Do you want to answer the lady's question, sir?
I don't know what the question was.
Oh my word.
Just from school, there's like a vehicle that's been turned over, and instead of someone actually removing it, they've gone in and put cones around it.
Okay.
So it's almost like duplicating the work. You've had people go in and put cones around it for portion, but why didn't we just get a team in to remove it because it's outside the
It's
store?
because the council give, they give the owners of the vehicle enough, they put a notice on it, so they've got
It's
notice.
upside
to
It's
down.
not a
remove it.
vehicle, it's like the end of a
Yeah.
trailer.
Yes,
It's not attached to a vehicle.
they still do it that way, they'll put a notice.
It's
for
when
them
you
to
see
remove it.
council, they have to put a
Remove
notice,
that
give them
one.
time.
They'll go back and remove it. It is a two-step process.
Okay.
And that's the process they have.
We'll chase that up
Okay.
for you as well, see if we can find anything.
I'm going to say something. I'm from Christian community of the Boise Greens, Small Heath, Rocks. We are not presented by any other council, which are Pakistani, Bengali, other, but instead they are targeting ours racially because our language or culture is different from other Pakistani. And some of them in here who join Pakistan, but they're not really Pakistani. They in here very massive population in here. They're abusing ours. What happened basically in 15 in here? I was doing this road, on this road. Further, I got problems with one of the neighbors. He's sending me underage girl just abuse me. So I report to police. Police come to my house. Police was abusing me, and then one of the public laborers on this road come to here. He joined the police, and police just hand with him. So they just started abusing ours, basically, with the help of police joined with them as well. We need our own representation because we don't believe on other councillors which are Pakistani, which are not our Pashtun. Because they're not representing ours, they're abusing racially, culturally, linguistically, and they're losing our jobs, they're targeting ours, they're targeting our women, our girls, our jobs, our houses, our life, everything here. Just third generation.
I think we've already got somebody who's a board member of ours from the Pashtun.
This is a big issue, basically.
And what we could do is, obviously, if there's been any issues, the police can take up with that separately. But yeah, if you want to, yeah.
Aurora, is it Joe Nickana? They must have a store kana.
Now I'll talk to you later on, speak in English.
Okay, that's absolutely
because
fine.
Because my mother represents us well.
Okay, that's
because
absolutely
I joined job in Small Heath. I've been abused by Bengali, Kashmiri, and Punjabis out there, and they finished my job in 4 weeks.
Okay.
I'm a chemistry graduate. I did for 10 years restaurant jobs, and they finished my job in 4 weeks because they tried abusing me racially. What I am.
Okay, what you can do is
And I've been through the course. Listen to me, yourself, 1 minute. So you might not present it because sometimes you also subjugate to the other councillors themselves. Some person they subjugate to them. We are living. They're not councillors. But I'm just telling. I'm just mentioning the real matter basically. We are passing the lives of slavery in here. We agree with me. We are passing the life of slavery here. No, I do. I'm just understanding these things. So they just finish our jobs in just in a 4 weeks by the other community, which are Bengali, Kashmiri, Punjabi here. Do we are slaves to here? Because the British come to my homes, to my village, they live with ours. And we travel with British to Europe, to Singapore, to Japan, everywhere. Then we travel to here. And the rest of other Pakistan come down in here. And then now in here, we are basically from 2 villages. We are a minority, they are majorities. They come, I don't know how they come in here in majorities. They are using ours basically. Huh? No, that's the real thing. That's the using ours. I'm not sorry. I spoke to him. He should be here. He's a big officer, he should be here. Now don't go right now. I lost more than 35 jobs. 35 jobs by racial abuse.
If you speak to
1 minute. 35 jobs by you lost it. Before we do police not helping us. Police started abusing me. Huh? I'm 42 right now. I get the job and they finish my job. I get the job, they finish my job. By the gangs, by the mafia in here.
Should we have a chat then?
No, I want to what did you try? You tried to pick me. You tried to pick me or not?
This is a fair demonstration.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Can we move on to the main event? The main course, please.
Yes, Jerry.
It's sad to hear this, but it is an example.
I lost more than 35 jobs in 7 years. Think about it. Huh? They call me, target abusing me. They broke my message. They are abusing me. They broke my social life. They broke my everything. They call me.
This is an example.
Police, nothing can help me. I report who report. Just last time, police told me how many crimes reported. I told me, can you help me? State police station, I told me, you can't help me. Why do you not find the offender? Why not find the people?
We'll have to move on.
Yeah, brother, if you want to speak to one of the police officers, they'll be happy to help you. They will.
Right,
Yeah, he'll speak to them afterwards.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's all right at the moment.
We'd like to now, obviously, welcome our guest, Simon Foster.
Special guest.
Special guest. And he's taken time out today to spend time with the Small Heath Community Forum. Over to you. Thank you.
Always nice to get a round of applause before you've said anything. Let's hope you're still applauding at the end, eh? That's always the litmus test. So, good evening, everyone. Thanks ever so much for the invitation to come and attend Small Heath Community Forum. As I think was indicated earlier, I've probably got a legitimate excuse for not being here this evening, but I am here, and I'm here in particular for 3 reasons. Firstly, you invited me. Secondly, I committed to coming here this evening, and call me old school, but I think, you know, I tend to take the view, absent death or personal injury, if you make a commitment, then you damn well turn up, whatever the circumstances. And then finally, I've seen some of the amazing work that Small Heath Community Forum is doing.
Small Heath Forum.
Small Heath Forum, sorry.
Small Heath Forum.
Small Heath Forum.
Right.
Not Small Heath.
Somebody
No.
else.
It says Small Heath Community Forum.
That's a different organisation.
Give somebody else credit there.
Oh, yeah. What, there's a Small Heath Forum and a Small Heath Community Forum?
There is,
Yeah.
yes.
We're just
Small Heath
using
Forum.
We're just using their building.
Ah, okay, got you. Okay, Small Heath Forum, forgive me. But anyway, I've seen some amazing work that Small Heath Forum have been doing. So I really wanted to come along and hear from you about that, and also share equally some of the work that I'm doing as Police and Crime Commissioner. So, crime, policing, community safety, criminal justice. They're all matters that are of significant importance to all of us, aren't they? They always generate a significant amount of public interest and concern. And if you ever go out door knocking, if you ever attend meetings like this, if you access, however you do, media, social media, mainstream media, those issues, crime, policing, community safety, criminal justice, they're never very far from public interest and concern, are they? From my perspective, very briefly, my background, some of you may know me, some of you may not, but I started my career in the law over 45 years ago, and I practiced as a legal aid solicitor for 35 years. I was a partner in a law firm for 22 years. And indeed, when I first came to Birmingham, I was a community legal aid solicitor in East Birmingham. So it's an area I know well. I worked on the Allen Rock Road for 10 years as a community legal aid solicitor to the local community in East Birmingham. So, as I say, it is an area that is very close to my heart. It was, I guess, the first community I knew when I first came to Birmingham, way back in 1986. So, important to understand that I represent the entirety of the West Midlands. Of course, I represent Small Heath, but I represent the entirety of the West Midlands as well. So what I'm going to say to you this evening about the work that I do applies as equally to Small Heath as it does everywhere else in the West Midlands. And do bear in mind, as Police and Crime Commissioner, I have a constituency of 3 million people. And when you think about your MP, who has a constituency, I have 26 parliamentary constituencies within my constituency. So you can see the sheer scale of the responsibility and the duties of a Police and Crime Commissioner right across the West Midlands. And indeed, I think it's fair to say that there's only one politician in the country that has a larger constituency than me, and that's Sadiq Khan in London. Obviously, our Mayor, Richard Parker, has the same constituency as me because we're both elected to represent the same West Midlands as each other. But you can see the sheer scale of the task. So, as I say, those issues are deeply, profoundly and passionately matters about which I care about. Important to understand as well that there's nothing new about accountability, governance, oversight and scrutiny when it comes to policing in this country, because 1829 Metropolitan Police Act, that established, I guess, what we would understand as a modern manifestation of a police force as we would recognise it to this day. 1835 Municipal Corporations Act, that established your watch committees, which provided an element of accountability, governance, oversight and scrutiny. We had the 1964 Police Act, which introduced police committees, which were your local councillors who were appointed to a committee to provide those functions. And then Police Reform Social Responsibility Act 2011 introduced your Police and Crime Commissioners. So Police and Crime Commissioners, relatively new innovation in terms of accountability, governance and oversight and
Simon,
scrutiny.
could you give
Yeah.
a brief description of what your role actually is as a police and crime commissioner?
You're ahead of me. I'm just about to, literally about to come on to that. So, have you heard me talk before? You know my speech. So what does a police and crime commissioner do? Right. Well, a police and crime commissioner has extensive, wide-ranging duties and responsibilities. Important to understand it's not about operational day-to-day policing, because that's the responsibility of the chief constable. It's about democratic accountability. It's about making sure the police service are providing you with an effective and efficient police service. And of course, I am elected to represent you, not the police. Yes, of course, I work very closely with the police because we have many similar aims and objectives. Of course we do. But I am here to represent you. And that's very important, a big distinction. Because sometimes when you introduce yourself as the police and crime commissioner, people in some instances think you are the police. I am not the police. I'm here to represent you. So what do? I have a responsibility to prepare the West Midlands Police and Crime Plan. That's important. I have a statutory duty to prepare that. It sets out the strategic direction for policing in the West Midlands. The Chief Constable has to have regard to it, and I can use that plan to hold the Chief Constable to account. And I launched my most recent Police and Crime Plan on the 26th of March this year. And you can check that out online. I'll say a little more about some of the priorities in that plan shortly. Secondly, I set the West Midlands Police budget as Police and Crime Commissioner. That's £790 million is the net revenue budget for 25-26. As Police and Crime Commissioner, I have tax raising powers because I set the police precept, which is that part of your local council tax that goes towards paying for local policing. And then in the widest possible sense, I'm there to hold the Chief Constable and the police service to account. But I also have the power to appoint and dismiss the Chief Constable. I have responsibility for the community safety partnerships across the West Midlands, our violence reduction partnership, the local criminal justice system across the West Midlands, and I commission £6.7 million of victim support services as well in the West Midlands. In addition to that, I also established the independent custody visitors scheme and the appropriate adults for vulnerable adults in police custody. I also have various responsibilities around complaints. If you have a complaint about a Chief Constable, that comes to me. If you're unhappy about the way West Midlands Police have dealt with the complaint, you can apply for a review to my office, and I have an overall policing is providing you with an effective and efficient complaints system. In addition to that, as Police and Crime Commissioner, I own the entire police estate in my capacity as corporation sole. So all the police buildings, all the police stations are owned by the Police and Crime Commissioner. So all disposals, acquisitions, ultimately are my responsibility. All procurement decisions around IT, police equipment, police fleet, anything over £1 million comes to me ultimately for sign-off. And then I also chair the West Midlands Road Safety Strategic Partnership. I also chair the West Midlands Combating Drugs and Alcohol Partnership, and I'm the senior responsible owner for implementing the government's From Harm to Hope 10-year drug strategy in the West Midlands. And then nationally, because we have an association of police and crime commissioners, just as we have a National Police Chiefs Council, which is all the chief constables, we have an equivalent organisation for police and crime commissioners and deputy mayors. I have national responsibility for serious violence and counter-terrorism. And I chair the National Counter-Terrorism Strategic Board as well. So you can see many wide-ranging duties and responsibilities. I mentioned the Police and Crime Plan. Obviously, the Police and Crime Plan covers the entire spectrum of policing as you would expect it to do. But I'll give you 3 of my top priorities. Number 1, rebuilding community policing. Community policing has always been and always will be my top priority. Why? Because in our country we say that we police by consent. We say the police are the public and the public are the police. There's no better illustration of that principle than community policing. We need that accessible, reassuring and visible presence out in the streets to keep people, families, businesses and local communities safe and secure. Secondly, preventing and tackling violence. Violence against women and girls. domestic abuse, youth violence, knife crime. Why? Because of the catastrophic and devastating consequences that can have for victims, survivors and families. And then thirdly, preventing and tackling crime and antisocial behaviour on our roads and improving road safety and reducing the number of people who are killed and seriously injured on our roads. Why? Because of the tragic and avoidable circumstances of road collisions and the impact it can have on people and families. So they're three of my top priorities. As well as that, I have some key principles as Police and Crime Commissioner that are set out in my Police and Crime Plan. Prevention, prevention, prevention always has to be the starting point, doesn't it? Because if we can prevent crime happening in the first place, it's always better than having to deal with the consequences of crime. Partnerships, and in many respects, this is what this evening is all about, isn't it? Partnerships. Because no matter how effective policing is, policing can't prevent and tackle crime all on its own. It has to be a collaborative and cooperative approach. Building trust and confidence. If we don't have trust and confidence in our police service, we will not have an effective and efficient police service. Bringing offenders to justice. Because those people who are intent on causing harm to others do have to face the consequences of their actions, and they do have to be brought before the courts and face the criminal justice outcomes. The rights and welfare of victims, they always have to be a top priority, don't they? For policing and indeed the wider criminal justice system, we must make sure that the rights and welfare of victims are always a top priority. And then finally, rehabilitation. Why? Because rehabilitation means less victims of crime, less impact on our public services, our criminal justice system. It means it's an opportunity for people to turn their lives around and make a positive contribution to society, and it will save taxpayers' money. So rehabilitation is always a key issue for me as well. So there are some of the principles on which my police and crime plan is set out. I will just say something briefly about, as I was asked to do, about resources and funding for West Midlands Police. Now, I could probably talk to you all evening about that. It's one of my favourite subjects. But let me just say briefly, West Midlands Police is a force that still has about 700 fewer police officers than it did back in 2010. That is despite the so-called National Police uplift in 2020-21. We still have about 500 fewer PCSOs than we had back in 2010. We still have a national police funding formula that, because it's never been properly and fully implemented, costs West Midlands Police £40 million a year. Now, I always say West Midlands Police are a bit like a football team with 9 players on the pitch. And if there's any football fans in the room, you will understand, if you've only got 9 players on the pitch, yeah, okay, everybody runs around a lot harder, a lot faster, you adopt your tactics accordingly, but ultimately you're always chasing the game, aren't you? It's very difficult to get on the front foot and be proactive. Now, you might say, well, isn't that what all police forces across the country are having to deal with? No, it's not. It's not. West Midlands Police is significantly, disproportionately disadvantaged compared with the vast majority of other police forces in the country. So, the vast majority of police forces in the country now have more police officers than they've ever had in their force history. And I'll give you some.
Is there a reason for that, Simon?
There is, and I'll come on to that. But I'll give you some examples of those forces that now have more police officers than they've had in their force history. Norfolk, Suffolk, Kent, Surrey, Sussex, Cambridgeshire, Northamptonshire, Warwickshire, Thames Valley. You'll see that, with all due respect to those forces, obviously they're entitled to an effective and efficient police service, but they do not remotely carry the same level of threat, risk, demand and need and vulnerability as we do in the West Midlands. Now, just to answer your question, there's a variety of reasons for that. Probably
Is it an easy life there?
Hold on 1 second.
Say what?
Can you finish?
Is that easy life?
Can you finish his presentation,
I would
please?
argue that, relatively speaking, they are rural, low-crime communities as compared with the West Midlands, and yet they have a disproportionately advantageous share of the resources. They have a bigger share proportionately of the cake than we do in the West Midlands. That's fundamentally that's inexplicable, it's inexcusable, and it's unacceptable. I mean, I've been campaigning about this for 5 years or so, but anyway, that's another story. So why? Well, I guess there's 3 reasons for that. Number one, it's for historical reasons, because the old police committees did not raise the council tax precept way back in the noughties before police and crime commissioners came along. They kept council tax low. Consequently, we have the 2nd lowest police precept in the country. Now you might say, well, that's good, lower tax, but that has consequences because we have less money to invest in policing. So a Band D property in the West Midlands is £229.50 a year. Our most similar force, Greater Manchester, is £270. If you look at our regional forces, so for example, Staffs is about 289, West Mercia 291, Warwickshire 303, Surrey have about £340 a year. So you can see we have far less to invest in policing. And I am limited in terms of how I can increase that precept each year by central government. Second reason, they suspended the implementation of the funding formula back in about 2013. So they froze it. And that left us £40 million shy of where we ought to be. And then thirdly, as I said before, when they allocated the so-called National Police Uplift, if you remember, the 20,000 officers, back in December 29, that government pledge, if you remember, they allocated that in accordance with the funding formula. So consequently, there are always going to be winners and losers. And West Midlands Police were a big loser as a consequence of that. So that's kind of, in brief terms, why we are where we are. So, yeah, did you want to ask a question?
You're talking about the precept. How much higher does it need to be to try and bring and support these gentlemen?
Well, we are engaged. Yeah. Well, I would say. I mean, take our most similar force, Greater Manchester Police. Yeah. Okay, because it's obviously. It's not always comparing like with like to compare us to Dorset or Norfolk, Suffolk and so on. So our most similar force is Greater Manchester Police. Greater Manchester Police, as I say, have a Band D average precept. Their precept is about 270. Okay, so I would argue that's kind of where we would want to be if we were kind of on a par with our most similar force. Okay. Do bear in mind that Greater Manchester Police now have about the same number of officers that they did back in 2010. We're 700 down. And do bear in mind, if we had the same level of funding per head of population that Greater Manchester Police have, we'd have another £40 million a year to invest in policing. And we don't. And that just shows you just how unfair the way the police resources are allocated. Now, I have taken the maximum flexibility that I was accorded by central government for 25-26, which was a flexibility of £14 per annum per Band D property. I've taken that because not to take it would impose a cut on policing. So it's a no-brainer. So I've taken that flexibility. That raises another over £10 million that we would not otherwise have. So as a consequence of the total precept that I've invested in West Midlands policing, that is a record-breaking 175 million that I've invested in policing this year for 25-26. But that is as far as I can go in accordance with the central government restrictions that are imposed on me as Police and Crime Commissioner.
Will that go to boots on street?
Can you?
On the street
We'll come to questions later. Yeah. So let me just go through. And...
Yeah. So, but what I do want to say is, notwithstanding all of those challenges, West Midlands Police, in so many respects, is delivering against the odds. And I'll give you a few examples of how West Midlands Police is delivering against the odds. Number one, have a look at our 999 and 101 service now. One of the best in the country. Average time for a pickup on a 999 is 2 or 3 seconds. Average pickup time on a 101 now is about 25-30 seconds, average. Equally, response times, 999, average across the West Midlands, it's about 10 minutes. For priority, one level down, it's about 40 minutes average. So yeah, plainly there'll be sometimes it takes longer, sometimes a bit quicker, but average about 40 minutes. That's one of the best in the country. In some instances, Westminster Police are answering 999 calls better than some forces are answering 101. So you can see how that's been improved. Equally, the number of arrests that Westminster Police are making in the West Midlands. A couple of years ago, that was round about 4,000. It's now up to about 5,000 a month. In addition, far more people are being brought to justice in the West Midlands. As I mentioned earlier when answering that previous question, a couple of years ago, positive outcome rates were hovering around 5-6% or so, now up to about 14-15%. So a significant difference. And in addition to all of that, we've been cutting crime across communities. So the most recent data over the last 12 months, there's been a reduction, total recorded crime in the West Midlands of 6.4%, and with significant reductions in burglary, robbery, vehicle crime, youth violence, knife crime, neighbourhood crime, really significant reductions in those crime types across the West Midlands. So you can see West Midlands Police have been delivering against the odds in so many different ways, notwithstanding all of those challenges around resourcing. So just want to say in conclusion, because I appreciate we want to leave some time for questions, comprehensive spending review, one issue which will impact on West Midlands Police's ability to be able to deliver will be the outcome of the comprehensive spending review. We won't know that till December, January. So I will be keeping an eye on that because that will impact on the amount of money I will have ultimately to invest in policing as Police and Crime Commissioner. Rebuilding community policing. Check out if you haven't already, the West Midlands Police Single Online Home page. You can go on to West Midlands Single Online Home, check out, put in your postcode, and you will get now all of the details of your local neighbourhood policing team. Because I secured £12.2 million of investment back in February to invest into neighbourhood policing. As a consequence of that, Chief Constable and I were able to recruit, in the process of recruiting, 150 additional neighbourhood officers. We're redeploying 139 neighbourhood officers into neighbourhood policing, and we're recruiting 20 PCSOs as well. And that is all about my commitment and the Chief Constable's commitment, and indeed the government's commitment around the neighbourhood policing guarantee to rebuild community policing. Check that out. You can see all you do. You now have a dedicated neighbourhood officer. That dedicated neighbourhood officer, absent extraordinary, exceptional circumstances, is there meant to be ring-fenced for being a named contactable officer for that local area. So the extent to which they should be extracted should be minimal, de minimis. Okay. They've also got a local action team that sits under them to support them, and your PCSOs. You can check out all your names of all of those teams. You can also check out the top 4 priorities for the area, because the neighbourhood team now has to put those up on the website. And you can have a look at those. They have to do a regular report back, make sure that's updated on a regular basis. They've got to put out local community meetings and engagement events up there as well. So there's a wealth of information there, and you've got some of the police recording data on there as well. So check that out if you want to have a look, okay? Because that is all about the commitment to rebuild community policing. I won't repeat what's been said about Skybridge because there's a lot been going on. I've been out with Skybridge in Small Heath. I went out probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago to see exactly what they were doing. We've also had the Safer Street Summer Initiative that's been active on Coventry Road as well. So all of that has been making a significant impact on preventing and tackling crime and antisocial behaviour in the Small Heath area. And you've seen the numbers there that Ellis took you through in terms of what Ops Skybridge, for example, has been achieving. And I think, in the interest of time, I'll just wrap up there. But you can see that there's a lot happening, there's a lot going on, and from my perspective as Police and Crime Commissioner, absolutely committed, dedicated to doing what needs to be done to prevent, tackle crime and antisocial behaviour, to keep people, families, businesses and local communities safe and secure. And of course that includes in Small Heath. Thanks.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, looking at Dora Road is more or less in the centre of Small Heath Ward. I mean, looking at that data, it doesn't fill me with confidence. 11% higher crime, 82% higher than the national average. Violent crime is 40% higher than Birmingham and 3.16 times than the national average. It doesn't fill me with confidence what you've said. You came here in 2021 to a local meeting, I believe, and in that meeting, you said that there's going to be, I believe, 1,200 additional officers, 450 for neighbourhood police teams. You were asked in 2021 how many of those were for Small Heath and Bosley Green, and obviously you didn't have an answer because the question was asked spontaneously. In 2023, you came again in a ward forum meeting just across the road with Councillor Barner was chairing. The same question was asked. You didn't have an answer for it. A year later, in the ward meeting in this very room, where our local councillor, Labour councillor, Councillor Saqib Khan, said that he feels unsafe walking the streets of Small Heath. And he said he was going to arrange, here we are, number 11. We'll contact PCC Foster regarding the number of officers on duty. I mean, we asked him to ask you to find out how many police officers are we going to get in the neighbourhood. We still haven't had an answer. So, can I ask you now, please, Mr. Foster, 4 years after the initial question was posed to you, do you now have an answer as to how many local police units, specifically for Small Heath and Bosley Green, so that councillors and residents alike can walk the streets once more without feeling or the fear of becoming the next victim of crime? Thank you.
Okay, well, as I mentioned, there have been significant reductions in crime across the West Midlands. I don't know where you've accessed that data from.
It's from the local statistics, because the problem that we've got
By
is...
all means, share those statistics
Yes.
with me,
I
because
will
you've
do.
not given me any prior notice of those numbers. So I'd very much be interested in understanding where you've located those. because I'll tell you where my source is.
Mr. Foster, please.
Okay, can you tell me where you've sourced them from?
I sourced them from my postcode in a geographical area, because the problem that we've got...
but from where?
It was an online crime data statistics or something like that. Was. I can get
I've
you now.
sourced mine from West Midlands Police and from the Home Office.
But is it
so
specifically
I
for
would
Small Heath?
suggest
Small
that
Heath?
mine are rather more authoritative than the numbers you've accessed from, as far as I can see, a website that isn't actually connected with policing.
What they said,
But
Home Office and Home
so
Administration.
I'd be very happy to have a look at the statistics that you're talking
Thank
about.
you.
So if you want to share them with me, then by all means do so. I'll give you my email.
We'll get the forum to do that.
I'll give you my email and you can share them with me, and I will have my data analyst have a look at them and compare them with the data that we have from within West Midlands Police and also from within the Home Office. That's the first thing. Secondly, I mean, in terms of I'll give you some numbers, okay?
Yep.
So, these are Small Heath crime trend month ending, okay? So, this is Small Heath from my data analyst within my Office of Police and Crime Commission.
Is it Small Heath, as in Small Heath, a local police unit? Or
Yeah,
is it Small
when
Target?
assessing offences, several notable increases and decreases have been observed in Small Heath. Okay? Ready?
I'm listening. But I
You
think,
can
no, because
you can type them.
Mr. Foster.
So here we go. I'll give you.
You can say that all you. Okay, please, I don't want. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to.
Vehicle offences down by 18.2% from 379 to 310. Serious youth violence down by 8.3% from 60 to 55. Burglary down by 24.4% from 119 to 90. Robbery up by 20.9% from 67 to 81. Sexual offences down by 16.7% from 90 to 75. Public order offences static at 0.3% from 347 to 348. Arson and criminal damage down by 11% from 182 to 162. And as I say, across the West Midlands, total recorded crime is down by about 6.4%.
Is that change in the way it's been recorded, or is that just like year on year?
That's year on year.
Yeah, but is it the exact way it's been recorded?
Yeah.
The exact same way?
Yeah. Because Westminster Police have to satisfy quite stringent rules around crime data integrity, and And indeed, Westminster Police probably have one of the best compliance levels with crime data integrity in the country. It's about 95, 96%.
I have a question for these two gentlemen. Do you think you're getting enough support from the police commissions to do your job?
I think the summer's been a difficult period, but it always is seasonality wise, just because.
Are you confident enough to go back to the office and say, this is what we need, we're not getting this?
We could always do with more, but I've got full confidence in the police.
I'm asking the gentlemen who are on the street, giving, you're the ones who may get stabbed, whatnot, get in the face, sworn at daily, spat at. These are the people who will go out on the street if they're confident and do they feel that they get enough support from themselves, and if they need to, or are they empowered enough to come back to yourself and say, look, this is where we're lacking, we need this support, and you private. Sometimes is it?
I would put my hands up and say it's been a very busy summer from our point of view. And neighbourhood policing has probably suffered a little bit because of the increased demand for the service. But all departments are in the same position.
We had a lot of platform with Small Heath from outside, mate.
In terms of mucking in with the overall effort. I've got absolute confidence in Simon Foster, but ultimately he's not there to represent me, he's there to represent you. I work at the Chief Constable.
What I'm going to go and obviously say, we have the Operation Sky Bridge in Small Heath. It's taken a lot of time to get that going. Now, in a month, the amount of crimes that were actually seen in Small Heath, I believe that we need more support for the officers. Officers, they bend over backwards trying to help the local community, but there's not enough officers to deal with all the issues in Small Heath. Illegal parking, drop curbs, robberies, we've seen that go up a lot. But if you look at that 1 month of work, what they've done, it's every day. If you go around Small Heath, it's going up a lot. So what I would ask, and our community would ask, is we would need more resources. And if you could go take that forward and say, Small Heath needs more operations. It's like when we had the first Ramadan market, we got involved, we helped them to sort that out. So always what we find is Small Heath now is consisted of 3 wards which are covered by the police. South Yardley, you got Highgate, and
we have Wolseley, South Yardley, and Small Heath and Highgate. So my question is,
we are covered by 3 areas.
With the police, the statistics normally are per neighbourhood policing units, and the area is a geographical area and not the policing units. Was my question.
Yeah, so there has been a significant number of additional resources allocated out to local policing areas. And of course, in terms of the local policing area that covers Small Heath, that's in broad terms the Birmingham local policing area. The Chief Constable introduced a new neighbourhood policing operating model back in April 2022. That meant that a significant number of resources that were otherwise based centrally were all allocated out to the local policing areas. So that meant that force response were effectively delegated out from being a central team into the local policing areas. Many of the 4CID resources were allocated out there, and indeed local policing was allocated out there as well. So that meant a very significant uplift in terms of those police officers that were being allocated to local policing areas. Okay, so that very much changed the balance as between what was allocated on a central basis and that which was allocated locally. So you're absolutely right. Of course we need more police resources. As I've said, we're a force that has 700 fewer police officers than we had back in 2010.
Simon,
I repeat, disproportionately disadvantaged compared with many other local policing areas, many other local police forces, the vast majority of local police forces in the country. I repeat, that's unacceptable, it's inexplicable, and it's unjustifiable. And I've been campaigning to change that for the last 5 years. And I will continue to campaign around that because it's an injustice, and I am committed to righting that wrong. As I say, We secured £12.2 million of investment earlier this year. As a consequence of that, we've been able to bid in for 150 new neighbourhood officers. We're redeploying 139 into local policing, and we're recruiting 20 PCSOs. But if you want to go onto Single Online Home, you can check out how many officers are on the Small Heath and Highgate team. You can check it out for yourself. I mean, just if you count Ellis and the whole team there, in terms of officers and PCSOs, you've got 25 officers on there, including PCSOs. Okay, they have all been allocated into Small Heath and Highgate as a consequence of the National Neighbourhood Policing Guarantee, the commitment to rebuilding community policing in My Police and Crime Plan, and the commitment on the part of Westminster Police in terms of their commitment to neighbourhood policing and the Chief Constable as well. And what I would say, I mean, you wanted to ask about the officers. You're absolutely... I want to pay credit to those officers, because notwithstanding the challenges that they have in terms of resources, they are delivering against the odds in so many different ways. And I've mentioned those stats there in terms of crime reductions. That is, yes, in part as a consequence of the decisions that myself and the Chief Constable make. But ultimately, it's a consequence of the commitment, the dedication, the hard work and the professionalism of those officers out on the streets.
Yeah.
And it's also a credit to the partnership work that goes on as well with local authorities and other essential preventative public services and the third sector and the voluntary sector, and indeed groups like Small Heath Forum as well. Because I repeat, no matter how effective policing might be, policing can't prevent and tackle crime all on its own. It has to be a collective and a collaborative effort.
Jerry? Sorry, Jerry. Oh,
Okay. Hi, Simon. In your opening remarks, you mentioned about accountability a number of times. Since you've come in, can you give us an example of you holding the police accountable? Ideally in the local area or within Birmingham?
Yeah, I can give you a few examples. My emphasis on rebuilding community policing was always my very top priority. Before the current government adopted the neighbourhood policing guarantee in its pledge, in its manifesto back in April 2024, I was elected on a manifesto to rebuild community policing in May 2021. So I was 3 years ahead of the game in terms of that commitment around rebuilding community policing. And it was one of the reasons I appointed the current Chief Constable, because when the previous Chief Constable was retiring, I had to go through a very detailed and extensive process. Probably lasted about 8 or 9 months before the new Chief Constable was finally appointed. And I won't go through all of that detail, but it was a very detailed and rigorous process and procedure to appoint the new Chief Constable. And one of the reasons I did that was because of his commitment to community policing. So I have been holding him to account in connection with that. I have been holding him to account around the emphasis on preventing and tackling knife crime. And as a consequence of that, and remember this is a team effort, I don't just go do that and it happens. We have to work collaboratively around all of this. Okay, we have to have a joint commitment. But my direction, I would say, my leadership around preventing and tackling knife crime has now seen significant reductions in youth violence and knife crime in the West Midlands. We've just seen recently a 25% reduction in knife-enabled robbery in the West Midlands. That's the largest reduction of any force in the country, 25%. We've seen youth violence down by about 14%. We've seen knife crime down by about 14-15% as well. And that
is that across the whole West Midlands?
That's across the whole West Midlands, yeah.
Are you talking about that?
So there's an example. I'm also making sure, I'm going to give you one more, I mean I could go on and on, but I'll give you one more example, the rights and welfare of victims. I am absolutely honing in on making sure that West Midlands Police improve their compliance with the Victims Code. Okay, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Victims Code. Victims Code has been around about 19 years, came in about 2005, 2006. But not only policing, but the wider criminal justice system either has not been properly complying with that Victims Code, or they've not been able to sufficiently evidence their compliance with it for far too long. That needs to improve, and I am absolutely honing in on making sure that that improves as soon as possible. And indeed, I chaired the local criminal justice board a week last Friday. We got all the criminal justice agencies, including policing, around a table, and I've made it very clear that we need to see that improved. And we have seen significant improvements around that within West Midlands Police, but it needs to get better. I would give you another example: improving the quality of investigations as well. We know the quality of investigations needs to improve. It is improving. West Midlands Police have a dedicated project around that, Operation Vanguard, which is about improving the quality of investigations, but it does need to continue to improve. I mean, I could go on and on, but they're just a few examples of where I believe my direction, leadership, and collaborative and teamwork with the Chief Constable and the West Midlands Police senior leadership team has resulted in some significant continuous improvement within West Midlands Police.
Obviously, we're running short of time. We've got a few questions.
Amjad? Yeah, I've got a couple of questions which I'd like to...
Amjad,
Just
one
one.
question, please. Yeah.
Just one question.
Yeah. Because obviously other people are waiting as well.
These are very important questions. These are very important questions.
Well, one question, please. Yeah.
Okay, make it to them.
What? Ask your
We'll
question. Ask your question.
We're running short of time.
I think the questions need the answer. If you can sort of try to shorten the answers as well, please, if you don't mind.
There's so much to say.
No, two quick. The thing is, I totally disagree with what you just mentioned about what the question that Naeem put forward. You're saying that knife crime has decreased, and other like drug crimes and car crime. I totally I agree with Naeem. Knife crime in the West Midlands, especially the B10 area, has seen as an increase in knife crime. So I don't know exactly where you're getting your statistics from, Simon Foster. And the second thing is regarding road accidents. In the area where I live in Stetchford, there's been a number of fatalities. And I think you did a walk around with the Birmingham City Council, John Cotton, around the Stetchford area. I just want an update of what's going to happen in that area.
Okay, very quickly, in the interest of time, we could spend more time on this, be happy to have a longer conversation with you. But in simple terms, I mean, knife crime and youth violence is reducing in the West Midlands, okay? We've also seen significant reductions in admissions to A&E departments for people being victims of knife crime as well, all right? And youth violence, knife crime, reductions of around about 14-15% in the West Midlands at the moment. You want to know where I get my data from? Well, that's police recorded crime statistics within West Midlands Police. It's from my data team within the Office of the Police and Crime Commission. So that's the first thing. Now, you mentioned about reducing the number of people killed and seriously injured on our roads. You're absolutely right. One of my top priorities. I've been doing a vast amount of work around road safety. Again, could talk to you for a long time talking about all the work I've been doing around road safety, improving road safety. One of my top commitments, priorities. What I would say is that for January to July, I chair the West Midlands Road Safety Strategic Partnership. The reason I do that is because I care really deeply and passionately about this. So January to July this year, there's been an 18% reduction in the number of people killed and seriously injured on our roads across the West Midlands. Okay, in that same period for 24, there were 575, and it was down to 471, an 18% reduction. And I am absolutely committed to continuing to do all I can. And again, this has to be a partnership approach. It has to be central government, it has to be regional, it has to be local. It's not just about policing, I emphasise, not just about policing at all. Improving road safety and reducing the number of people killed and seriously injured on our roads. But we've invested in West Midlands Police more into our roads policing unit in the last couple of years than probably in the last 15 years. Okay? and I can give you all the numbers if you want. I've doubled the number of mobile speed camera vans. We've negotiated a joint working agreement to expand average speed enforcement in the West Midlands. I mean, I could go on, but I'll stop.
Hang on 1 second, Jerry, and then the lady next.
Very, very quick. Right. Firstly, I just want to thank you for your time here and the police. They've always been here representing the police force, and I personally want to thank you for your time. My question is, in terms of Small Heath, we've got high deprivation, we have got high crime rates. Is it at all possible that you could transfer further resources into the area to tackle the underlying issues? Is there any possibility of making more funding available in Small Heath?
Okay, very quickly. I emphasise that, as I mentioned in my opening, operational policing decisions of the Chief Constable, not for the Police and Crime Commissioner, and I think that's entirely right. You do not want a politician to be in charge of where police officers get allocated to, do you? You can see where that might end up, not in a good place. So it's entirely right. That is a matter for the independent, objective and impartial operational policing judgment of the Chief Constable where police officers are allocated to. But what I would say is that if you check out my police and crime plan, you can have a look at it online. There is what's known as my neighbourhood policing guarantee. It's the very first chapter in the plan, and I've set out 12 key principles that will govern the way neighbourhood policing is implemented in the West Midlands. And if you have a look at one or two of those, I think it's 8 or 9 or 10. If you have a look at those, you will see that I've made it very clear that I want to see police resources allocated out to those areas that most need them, in terms of crime rates, in terms of social and economic deprivation and inequality. So absolutely, it's often, as you allude to, those areas that face the greatest challenges. So I would like to see appropriate police resources allocated to those areas, absolutely. But fundamentally, and quite rightly, those decisions are a matter for the Chief Constable.
Commissioner, can I just reply very directly to that question, because Small Heath is my area. As operational policing, Operation Skybridge was a result of exactly what you just asked for. The difference was that obviously you can't keep them there because they're going to go across the entire force, and it talks about that reduction in officers that we've spoken about. Second thing is, I combined Highgate's policing team with Small Heath to increase the numbers in Small Heath and Highgate because of the biggest demand generators in the area that I cover. So Small Heath has more officers, albeit the people of Highgate probably aren't happy about that. But then equally, Highgate has Small Heath's officers because Highgate has a lot of issues as well. And so equally, the people of Small Heath probably won't be happy about that. But the way that we balance that out is by reacting to the crime types based on intelligence, public submissions, statistics, and obviously general calls for service. So it's very much a case of moving those around, and because you could say that about Small Heath. Guarantee if I go to Aston, the people of Aston will be asking me the same thing. Yeah. So it's just about trying to balance with what you've got, and we try and let the data, statistics, and the public feedback bring that back. That's exactly why I delivered up Skybridge on that presentation.
I mean, when you first came into Small Heath, we done a walkabout.
Yeah.
And what did you think of it? Yeah. Your honest opinion.
I thought it's a challenge. I thought it's a challenge.
You were actually shocked.
Yeah, I was, and but as a result of that, we now have those results. So, but it's only possible because of what you guys tell me. If you don't tell me, I don't know. It's as simple as.
We don't ever have any continuity for various specific reasons in relation to the officers that we have and the police sergeants. We had things dynamically changed when we had Sergeant Will Morgan.
Yes.
And just as he's removed, now we've got Sergeant Allen, who's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
It won't be long before he makes inspector and he moves on. But Small Heath and Highgate policing area covers Digbeth, Derrytend and the city centre.
No. I won't go into borders, but the city centre covers some of Digbeth and Highgate, and I cover some of the other parts. Yes, yeah, that's all city centre, yeah.
Which is one of the highest crime rates in the city centre, that's why our statistics.
Oh, right.
So often your resources are taken up to there. So, anyway, my question is really to the Police and Crime Commissioner. I remember being here years ago with the first Police and Crime Commissioner, Bob Jones, absolutely fantastic person, excellent Police and Crime Commissioner, but he was one of the strongest advocates for scrapping Police and Crime Commissioners. He didn't want Police Crime Commissioners. My colleague here made reference to our Conservative Police and Crime Commissioner. As you say, our Conservative Police and Crime Commissioner. Police and Crime Commissioners are elected. Police and Crime Commissioners are accountable. You didn't pick up at the beginning when my colleague said you're a Conservative.
I'm not.
Sorry.
I'm not.
Exactly.
I'm a Labour Police and Crime Commissioner.
If you let me finish, the public aren't sure who you are, that you are a political representative, you're politically elected and accountable to us. And you've been accountable because you've attended our meetings, absolutely fantastic. So my question is simply this, because I'm not sure when the next Police and Crime Commissioner election is, and there is a movement as you try to stop, to put the police for efficiency and economy, to give the role to the elected mayor. As in other areas, Police and Crime Commissioners also cover the fire authorities. Your opportunity now, if possible, in one word, because my general opinion, if you were up for election tomorrow, you would not win, not because of you, but because people are rejecting Labour for whatever reasons, the opinion polls. So these are the opinion polls. I don't know, I'm just saying what's there. So my view, based on opinion polls, you would lose as Police and Crime Commissioner tomorrow. I'm not saying that's because you're a bad Police and Crime Commissioner. I'm saying that's because, one, community don't know what your function is, don't know that you're politically elected, etc. Turnout is not as high as it should be. In one line, what would you say to convince us as the electorate to elect you again?
Okay, look.
One line.
It's not really one line. Firstly, I believe that we need a democratically elected and directly accountable Police and Crime Commissioner in the West Midlands, whose one and only top priority is preventing, tackling, reducing crime. I, as you rightly say, am accountable to you. Other models, in other parts of the country, you have a mayor who appoints a deputy mayor to effectively do my job. Police and crime, community aid and criminal justice is far too important to be relegated to an appointed role. It needs to have its own democratic mandate, and I am, and always have been, entirely consistent about that, and I remain consistent about that. Now, in terms of whether I would or wouldn't get elected, if there was an election tomorrow, who knows? Politics is an inherently unpredictable business, as we know. But what I would say is that when I was elected in May 2021, that was entirely against the prevailing polling in the country. So I was entirely elected against the odds. I bucked the trend in 2021 when I was elected. Okay, police and crime, Labour police and crime were falling all over the country. I bucked the trend. I was elected on exactly the same day that the West Midlands elected a Conservative mayor, but they chose to elect a Labour Police and Crime Commissioner. So I bucked the trend then, and indeed I won't recite the long, hard-fought struggle that I engaged in to retain the role of the Police and Crime Commissioner in the West Midlands. But do bear in mind again, at the same time, in May 2024, when the mayoral election was decided on a knife edge, I doubled my majority in the West Midlands as Police and Crime Commissioner. I would say
now for the next election.
I would say predictions of the downfall of the Police and Crime Commissioner might be greatly exaggerated. Who knows?
But you've not said why. The question is your opportunity for us, the electorate.
Okay.
Why should we, not the history or the past, why should we vote for you next time and not vote for a Reform, Conservative, Liberal Democrat or Green? Tell us why, convince us why we should vote for you.
Okay,
Otherwise,
well,
apathy, we won't.
You brought up the history, so
the next election? When's the next election?
It would be in May 28.
28, we've got a long time to
You,
worry about.
I mean, with all due respect, you brought up the history, so it was important for me to address the history.
No, I appreciate
So
it.
I wasn't doing that. I wasn't doing that unilaterally. I'll tell you, because from a personal point of view, I've dedicated my entire adult professional life to the justice system, over 45 years. I am deeply, profoundly and passionately committed to access to justice, equality before the law and the rule of law. That's my personal background. I would say that in terms of any other candidate that would be standing, that would be a standout profile. It would be unique, okay? Over 45 years dedicated to the justice system. That's the first thing. Secondly, have a look at my track record. I'm rebuilding community policing. We're preventing and tackling knife crime, youth violence. We're reducing the number of people being killed and seriously injured on our roads. We're making progress across a whole variety of different metrics. One of the best 999 and 101 services in the country, improving response times, more people being arrested, bringing more offenders to justice. We're cutting crime, not only total police recorded crime, but crime across a whole variety of important different crime types as well. You can see that some real progress and continuous improvement is taking place within West Midlands Police. And all of that is in the context of West Midlands Police being one of the most forces in the country. So in very short order, that would be my case. And I believe it's a strong, compelling and persuasive case.
Thank you for that.
Simon, can I just ask, you said that the formula in terms of the budget or whatever is from the central government, for example. So there was a comment that was made by our councillor in regards to the budget and resources, etc. And he said it's because we're under a Conservative government at that time. Now we have a Labour government, and being a Labour, a police and crime commissioner, how likely is it that the Labour government will be able to rearrange that formula, or obviously come into some kind of collaboration with police and crime commissioners on how they can increase that formula so it is more effective, much more equal and fair? Obviously, being Labour yourself, I'm wondering, what is that likelihood? Or will they follow the same formula, do you think, as the previous government did?
Great question. Very good question.
So there is not currently a commitment on the part of the current government to continue that process around reform of the police funding formula. Do bear in mind that the previous government committed to reforming that funding formula back in 2015. Some 9 years later, they hadn't even reached the point at which there would be a consultation on reform of that police funding formula. So that 9 years of largely rhetoric and inaction. There isn't, as I say, an imminent commitment to reform that policing funding formula. It's an ongoing conversation, as far as I'm concerned, with the now newly appointed policing minister, the now newly appointed Home Secretary. It's a matter about which I will continue to campaign in order to ensure that we obtain justice and fair funding for West Midlands Police. As I say, the current structure is inexplicable, it's unacceptable, and it's inexcusable. And I will continue to make the case for fair funding for West Midlands Police. But as I say, like any campaign, it's a continuing process, it's a continuing conversation, but I am absolutely committed and dedicated to righting that wrong so that West Midlands Police have a more just financial settlement. And as I always say, I emphasise, this is not about more money. This is not about more money. It's just making sure we have a fairer allocation of the existing resources. And I would say that in terms of that, the Public Accounts Committee accept the position. The Institute of Fiscal Studies accept the position. The National Police Chiefs Council accept it. His Majesty's Inspector Constabulary Inspector accept it. Indeed, the Chief Inspector, he produces an annual State of Policing report every year, and he published that 2 or 3 weeks ago. And again, he has drawn attention to the fact that policing resources is not allocated fairly in terms of resources across the country. So he has reiterated that point. All of those different bodies accept that the National Police Funding Formula is unfit for purpose. It's outdated. It's not fair. And indeed, I addressed it most recently at my Accountability and Governance Board a week last Tuesday. Check out my website. You will see that I've come back to this point at the time when the government were announcing its comprehensive spending review. I drew attention to it a few months ago. I drew attention to it again.
And how
last
committed
week.
do you think the government will be, considering you are a Labour PCC, for example?
Rachel Reeves is like, he's going to cut more.
So I think obviously
Well, it's not just about the West.
It's not about the West Midlands. I understand that.
The government
Yeah.
is not going to approach this simply on the basis of what is happening or not happening in the West Midlands.
No,
as you
my point
appreciate.
was that in terms of what you're saying, that the biggest strategy of what you're saying of having a formula change, for example, how committed do you think they are regarding the fact that you've had these meetings in having this formula changed and having a positive outcome to the campaign that you're structuring?
I have no doubt that the current government is committed to ensuring that there is introduced a fairer funding formula across the country. And I am committed to having that ongoing conversation with ministers and with central government in order to deliver that. But inevitably, it's a process. The previous government spent nearly 9 or 10 years ultimately doing nothing about it. The current government has been in power about a year and a half.
Yes.
So I think one needs to understand some context and narrative around all of that. And as the gentleman over there has indicated, the government would doubtless say that they face a whole variety of different funding challenges, pressures and considerations, all of which they've got to factor in, not only around policing.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you for that.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
About a judge made a comment.
The gentleman there.
Yeah, the judge made a comment about the bob shops.
So, you have 24, or whatever the number is, bob shops, which are 24 hours, they run 24 hours, they've been to court, money laundering, everything. You know, the judge made that statement saying that, you know, you don't have to be an Einstein to figure out that.
If I can give you some history on that, Simon, there's a huge increase in the number of bob shops or 24-hour shops. Bob is just one. It's just one franchise. One franchise. So in Small Heath, especially Small Heath, we've had an influx of 24-hour shops. One of which was Bob, but the majority are not Bob, but they are still 24-hour shops. The police are helping, but the problem that we've got is that these types of issues, the same with illegal drop curbs, which Majid Mahmood, I'm sure, has sent you a letter statement last year. I don't know if you replied to that statement. But the problem that we've got is we've not been updated on the statement, nor do we have any indication as to the issues that we have here at Small Heath. You won't find anywhere else. So you're not going to find anywhere else, for example, 1,400 illegal drop curbs, which are criminal activity. You're not going to find this amount of 24-hour shops that are congregated within Small Heath that are accountable for, as the police will tell you, knife crime, when it comes to nitrous oxides, illegal vapes, criminality, grooming. There's a lot of criminality associated with these shops. So the question would be, what would you do in your position in reducing those crimes? What can be done in terms of getting something to be sorted with these shops in helping to reduce the crimes that you alluded to earlier? Could you just start off by the statement there first, please, if you don't mind? Well, if you reply to it, because we haven't had an answer from the cabinet member.
Is that about the illegal drop curbs?
Yes.
And a letter that was sent some time ago now, isn't it?
23rd of November.
I did provide Councillor Mahmood with a detailed reply.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
I did provide him with a detailed reply to that, and indeed it was a matter in connection with which I discussed with the Chief Constable and the Deputy Chief Constable as well.
So what was the outline on that? Because
I won't go into all of the detail around that now because we
just an overview, just a quick overview.
We might be here for some time, so I'll
one sentence.
Pick that up with you outside of the meeting.
Okay, that might be. Then we can give an update next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of bob shops, as Ellis will doubtless confirm, there's a lot of work taking place in terms of partnership work and intelligence around what is and is not happening in connection with bob shops. And perhaps Ellis is possibly the best place to give you some detail about that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, these guys will know because we've worked together on a number of these shops. I think, again, it comes down to the multi-agency approach. So you've got trading standards that have to be involved in this. You've got licensing issues. It baffles me that they get the permission to open the shop in the first place when we already know what's going on.
But they don't have any permission.
And well, see, I can't verify that because the
Because you have to put a notice outside.
Yeah.
You have to put a public notice. It's part of the, I think it's the county and city planning, whatever it is.
Yeah,
you have to put a notice out.
It's a different.
I've never ever seen a pot, but they're springing up every
Yes.
single, like Frampton, they're spawning like rabbits.
See,
Everywhere.
the problem we've got in Small Heath is everybody knows in Small Heath you can do whatever you want because it's been
And the
allowed.
worst thing about the
years ago.
shops is
So
they're
people think they can
competitors
do
and they're
that.
actually fighting. They're actually, there's physical fights. The competitors, you've got Highway, you've got Bob,
See,
you've
none
got
of these
other
burger
shops.
shops and food shops coming up, they're the main culprits of attacking all these people. Every single shop is a burger shop, next shop, or a kebab shop. Who's giving them the license?
So I can't answer that question because it's the
the
licensing council.
the Bob shop, you can answer that question, so they from the same category. Don't
No, so Bob shops and so shops don't come to the police for opening. That's a different.
That's the council
Yeah,
license.
let's not get it confused where.
No, but as a resident here living for 50 years, I don't want this shop coming up without unlicensed. Everybody just popping up a kebab shop.
Again, I can't comment on that because it's not. That's not the police. The police don't have involvement in opening shops or granting applications and doing anything like that. What we then do is where there's the criminality and the closures, that's where we get involved, right? There's different orders that the police will put onto, these types of shops. There'll be closure orders, for example, where we can make an application
Well,
to close
they're
them.
opening to 12 o'clock, they should be open past 10 o'clock.
So that's
a
great
great
example.
I'm raising the issue as a concerned resident here.
Yeah, but that's council. He can't. The police.
But he's got council issues as well, isn't he?
No, he's saying it's a council issue. He can't do anything. These gentlemen can't do anything.
No.
So these gentlemen need to raise it. And they raise it with the council.
We are already working on that.
If I can explain, right? So it's not about having to go at anybody. It's about education, right? So you need to understand the differences between what different authorities are involved in. The police have powers that we can utilise where there's criminality, right? But in terms of preventing shops opening, that's not within our jurisdiction because ultimately the police would have to be involved in every single shop, whether it be massive retailers or one-off convenience stores, right? It's just that's not how we work in this country. In terms of the process that the Commissioner was talking about, in terms of closing shops, there are things that the police can do immediately where there's criminality, such as closure orders, or make applications to the courts to close shops for 3 months. But the actual warrants and orders to close these shops has to come through the judiciary. Police don't have the power to close down economic businesses forever. That's something that's got to come through the courts. What we do to help process that is work with licensing, trading standards, people within the council to target hard on those shops. But it's not as simple as saying, right, we know what goes on in these shops, so we're going to close it down. What you have to have is you have to have the evidence. You can't say, right, well, it's a burger shop, and we know that lots of burger shops in this area are causing crime. You're absolutely right. The likelihood is they probably are involved in stuff, but you've got to put legitimate
They don't know the
evidence.
planning application. You look at the shop over there, they've got no plan over there. So
No,
the evidence is.
That's something again for the council.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
is.
for
The planning, we've got to be really clear in terms of where the boundaries are. So policing is, so in this instance, right, policing is reactive to the issues that we have in these shops. The proactive side of authorising or rejecting the plannings comes through the council, comes through the local authority.
Yeah.
Police don't have that, right? What I'm talking about is the criminality and the closures, because that's where the police do get involved. So, for example, you saw the picture where Sergeant Allen earlier, I don't know if you were here when Leon was talking about screen. There was photos about them going in doing seizures, so getting illegal vapes, illegal cigarettes and closing them down. Closure orders are stuff that the police have used for years and years, nightclubs, shops. Where there's criminality, that's where we step in. But it's not as simple as saying, right, we have an idea of what's happening in the bob shop. The judge is right. The judge is absolutely right, right? I think we all know what's happening in the bob shops. But if you put a closure order in front of that same judge without the evidence, what's he going to do?
Richard.
I mean,
He's
what
going to
we-
say
we've
exactly.
got-
I understand that.
what
the
we-
question is,
just one second.
the
What we-
criminality, as you said, everybody knows. Are you involved with is it multi-agency at national?
Yeah, we would do. So
is it
well,
at national level?
local,
If it's at
local.
national, that's okay. I'm hoping it's at national level because
It-
I'm hoping
I-
HMRC involved, NCA
Yeah.
involved.
I could
because
tell you
money
they're
laundering
involved,
goes
and not only that,
Yes.
when they close these shops, they go in, the impact statement
Mhm.
we do as a forum, we've had officers working at 12 o'clock at night to do impact statements. We do a community impact statement, what effects it's having on the community.
Correct.
And that's presented in front of a judge as a forum. This is what impact these shops are having.
And what I will
so,
say-
so far, we are probably,
You know,
this is
I
one of
will
the
tell
areas
you,
where four
as
impact
a-
statements are worked.
if I had the evidence, I'd get it. It's been documented on Facebook. These people, whoever owns them, they, I think modern slavery now, is that what the term is? They're bringing the boat, they're charging them. And that's where they're getting all the money from initially, and then they're employing them.
Yes, that type of
this is how complex it is.
It is.
It's really bad because someone's getting exploited. Them gentlemen, them young chaps are working for pittance.
Yeah.
They think they come here to earn, new life and everything.
So do you know what I
They
told
get
you about?
exploited.
Do you know I told you about the slavery offence that we had
Yeah.
earlier? Again, links to that. So we definitely arrest.
There
and
is a
process
multi-agency working on these 24-hour shops. That's all I can tell you. I know quite a bit about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on at the moment.
But what Saj is saying is absolutely correct. But I think the thing that is important to remember is as well, you can't group them. You have to close them down as individuals.
Yeah.
Even if it's just, so if you've got, let's say for example, you've got one individual running multiple shops. If you deal with that one shop, then you can take the rest out on that person. The problem is people are much smarter than that, right? So if you're going to exploit people, you're not going to do the same thing at multiple shops that your name's on across the country. So it's you've got to get the evidence and you've got to do it.
I understand that.
Okay, we keep on talking about these bomb shops.
Yeah,
Hang on.
bring that Inspector Turner would like to explain that we have copper with the copper, all the opportunities for the community to interact with the police, provide intelligence, find out what's happening, and where it can be explored in greater detail. Because some people it is
I
coming
mean, what
to
we'd like, obviously, today was about Simon coming in today.
Yes.
So what we'd like from you, Simon, is a commitment that you will help Small Heath. We are suffering in Small Heath, and if you can get some additional operations, we appreciate it. Because if you go around Small Heath, when Ellis came first, obviously into the area, he saw what it was like. That one operation helped a lot. Camlot Way, Cherrywood Road, with the closure orders on these shops, Small Heath has become
Ghetto.
A free for all, yeah.
That's the words people use now for Small Heath. You can do whatever you like because there's no accountability. There's nobody there to answer questions. The
And did they
council-
help to reduce the crime figures as well?
We would need help in reducing crime. So if you could help us on that, we appreciate it.
I think
As
one
a
thing I
community.
will say, folks, is that just because I think it's really important to get our figures correct. Overall crime has reduced, and Small Heath is the same. The thing that we see, right, is the severity of the crime makes it look like you've got lots of crime. You hear about one bad crime happen, and you think, oh my God, crime rates have gone up, right? We've got to look at the statistics versus the impact. We've got to target the crimes that impact the community the most. The reality is you're never going to get rid of crime. What we can all say is that crime has reduced. You only have to go online and look at the figures to find that out yourself.
But you talk about that. The biggest crime we've got here is drugs.
Yes.
And we all know that. Hence the reason why we got the beggars, because we got the drugs. Hence the reason why we got the prostitutes, because we got the drugs. So we'd like to know is that for every one you catch, there's another 3 there.
Sure.
Yeah. But how many are you catching on a day-to-day basis? That would be very, very interesting to say that we've got a massive issue of drugs on this. And it's again, we as a community are also to blame because we do not give you the intel, But every second household around this area is selling drugs. And this is what's really, really affecting our community. And again, onto the 24-hour shops, we all know that there was Operation Piranha, where you have to say where I got the funds to open this shop. And this is one of the biggest issues we've got with these 24-hour shops, is who is backing these people. And once we get to that, we've got to the root of the
What we can do
problem.
is obviously carry on with these conversations.
Yeah, but then
Obviously, it's running with half an hour over. We appreciate and thank you, Simon, for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Foster.
Thank you to the police.
Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks so much, Alice. Pleasure listening.